If you can't kill a boss, no reason why you can't look like one. Moogle putting the wow in transmogs.
Yes, I changed the format for the second time. Well, it's more or less the 6th or 7th time, but I am sure no one is keeping score at home. Here's why I did this. Mutual benefit to myself and you Kemosabe's the viewers. By not posting the details of 9 different pieces for 6 different xmogs, I save 2 hours production time per video. Plus, the old format kind of leaned towards boring and redundant voiceover at times. As far as viewers go, you receive 10 xmogs in the same time you once received 6. Linked in the description, you'll find a Wowhead dressing room file for each xmog set. You can now model your own race and or gender and view all the details, look up alternatives, make changes, view them, etc. You could even post it in the description so other people could see it, or I could turn around and produce it as an xmog if I share your enthusiasm. Yeah, quite a bit of purple here. We're looking at a mix of Cata and, of course, your current xpac, Shadowlands. For the most part, pretty much, except for the headpiece, which we're looking at tier from Legion. So it's a pretty easy set to pick up. Basically, you got to be Night Fae, you got to grind through the campaign. For the shoulders and the belt, the rest is Cata, except for the headpiece. Overall, I mean, if it looks good on a Worgen, or it'd probably look good on a Tauren as well. Headpiece is kind of difficult for both those races. Incidentally, you could always check the link in the description, which will take you to Wowhead, where of course you could click on any piece and get more details, find other options, or create your own. And as soon as I figure out how I could get the links into the comments, you see, I think I disabled them a long time ago, and because people were putting links to all kinds of crazy stuff. So now I got to figure out a way to turn it back on, but we'll fix it eventually. We're pulling stuff here from Warlords of Draenor, all the fun, as well as from BFA. Now, when I start putting together sets for any given class, I usually skip over the BFA stuff. I think BFA is some of the worst design, and I understand what they tried to do rather than consider class fantasy or come up with something that be rendered really, really sweetly, or do something unique. What they tried to do was really stick with a theme, an overall theme in BFA. And there were 2 different themes. You had the Alliance theme, the Horde theme. Not bad, not a bad concept, but when, you know, it started hitting the drawing board, some of the stuff I don't think was particularly good. Of course, there are exceptions here and there, and I think this set is one of them, largely because of the headpiece as well as the legs, or if you go with the robe, then it's just the chest. But I think it's a pretty cool Druid set here, and pretty much good for even monks if you like. I think I picked a few bad races and genders to model this particular set that I put together. But then again, when it comes to druids, you're also very limited as to what you can do, because there's not many class or races out there that can play the class of druid. But it looks good on a Worgen, and if something looks good on a Worgen, that's a pretty good set in my opinion, in a lot of different ways. We have a mix of all kinds of things going on here. We have some Legion, we have some Burning Crusade, we have some Wrath of the Lich King, we have BFA, we're across the whole board. I think it looks best on a Night Elf male, but since I showed him female, I didn't show the Night Elf male. It looks really good also on Zondalari Trolls, as well as Kultiran males. It even looks pretty cool here on a Tauren, which is kind of hard to always find things that fit Tauren, you know, because they go to the big and tall shop. Anyway, I really like this set. It's kind of unique and it fits the Druid mark. Every time I make an xmog with the color brown, doesn't matter what class I put it together, the set, doesn't matter if it's a druid or rogue. Of course a DK doesn't quite work, but I get that. Paladin doesn't quite work, but whatever class it is, if it's got a shot at working and it fits the class fantasy like it does here, I don't know, people just don't like the color brown for some reason in most xmogs, but I think this looks pretty damn cool. We have a mix of Legion, WoD, even BFA. The cloak is from the current xpac and Shadowlands, and yes, I'm kind of making good use of that headpiece, which is a tier piece for Druids from Legion, and I think I represented 3 of the 4 possible colors that you could get. But I like it. It says very Druid. It fits the class fantasy, and especially everything else. Most of this is Druid tier, but it's a mix-up of different xpacs and different tiers. And I think it works. If it looks good on a Tauren, chances are, probably works. We're showing fall some love, as in autumn, because this says autumn to me across the board. And we got good representation from a few different xpacs, and that's the criteria for a lot of people when it comes to putting together a good transmog set, that you represent different xmogs. So we have the shoulders, they're from WoD. The gloves as well as the belt, BFA. And then the chest and legs, Wrath of the Lich King. Of course, the shoulders, we said that's from WoD. I think the headpiece is a vanilla WoW drop. It might be purchasable on the auction house, but of course you could always check the links for more details. And of course the staff is from the current xpac, Shadowlands. Overall, yeah, I think this fits the class. A lot of these sets for the Druids in this particular video are gonna be based on class fantasy, not easiness of picking up or uniqueness, Druid class fantasy. Pretty strong representation in Shadowlands here with the chest, the legs, and of course those boots. Now this doesn't quite fit the class fantasy for Druids, although the shoulders and the headpiece kind of tie that in. Of course those shoulders are from Cata. I'm not sure if that's the Grievous or Prideful. One would be, I guarantee this though, one is Grievous Horde and the other is Prideful, or vice versa alliance, but nonetheless it's attainable by both factions. I'm not sure about that staff though. That staff I think is alliance only because it's a WoD staff, and I think it's a combatant staff. I could be wrong, but of course you could always hit the links in the description. You could come back and tell me exactly how wrong I was, or incorrect, or made a mistake. We all make mistakes, I think. I mean, I know I do, but I like this set, even though it's steered away a bit from the class fantasy. We're pulling from a few different xpacs here, mostly leaning heavily on Wrath of the Lich King, and that would be for the shoulders. Actually, that wouldn't be heavy, would it? We have WoD on the headpiece, we have Mop on a few pieces here, and if it looks good on a Worgen, which I think it really does look good here, chances are we have a good set. And the same could be said for Tauren, because they're just, because of the head. The head of the Worgen and the Tauren, really difficult to find headpieces. And of course, when you're putting together a set for a Druid, you're kind of limited as to what your options, because only a few different races can actually be a Druid. We're going old school and a little bit plain there on the cloak, as you can see. You could also go with the bright cloak. So instead of pulling that brown into it, you could pull a pure bright yellow, and it would work very well with this set. You could also pull something that's got a little bit of a green hint to it. So you got a lot of options for the cloak. You could always look into links in Wowhead and surf yourself around and find out some other ideas. If some of these ideas look familiar, there's a good chance that I put together a set recently, or maybe even as going back as far as a year ago. And I probably changed 1 or 2 things going forward, but the idea is now I got to come up with 10 xmogs, and I try to be unique. I don't want to just pull them from Wowhead. Or occasionally I'll look around what's going on in Stormwind, what's going on in Orgrimmar, if I see somebody who has something kind of cool looking. But for the most part, I kind of grind these out and figure them out myself. And from doing that for a long time, I kind of know, I don't know the names of the pieces, but I kind of know how they look and where they're from. And I think this is a very good looking Druid. I always love that tier from Throne of Thunder, where we're getting representation of the belt, the gloves, and the shoulders, especially for Druids. I love that tier. Pulling the headpiece, of course, from Legion works very well. The chest and the legs, they are obviously from Shadowlands. Set number 10 here, another brown set mostly, but we got that splash of orange and green, and overall I think it looks pretty cool. We got representation of a few different xpacs. I think it's got that forestry, if that's a word. It is a word, but I might be using it in the wrong context. Nonetheless, it has that forestry kind of look to it. It's kind of sharp. I love the way the staff works with all this, the belt, the shoulders, the texture of it all, the coloring and everything. It works very well in the overall theme. So this does fit the Druid theme. I do think it's kind of unique. Love how the cloak even kind of works into this. And of course, you can always check Wowhead, look for other ideas to change the weapon, change the belt, change the cloak, change the headpiece, whatever you want. And as soon as I figure out how to make sure that people can pop links in the comments again, I'll certainly do that, and we'll get things rolling as I intend them to roll, with people sharing ideas, etc., etc. Once again, my name is Luxeley, and I want to thank you people, you Kemosabe's out there, for stopping by, and leave you with this one final thought. Whatever it is by you, whether it's morning, afternoon, or night, make your day absolutely epic.